Am I afraid of English? That is a question I asked myself many times, in the silence of my room, in the corridors of school, in the anxious moments before I had to speak in front of others. I would watch my classmates, confident, smiling, speaking fluently, and I would feel a knot in my stomach. It was not just English. It was the fear of being judged, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of feeling small, of feeling inadequate. For a long time, I believed that maybe I was not meant to speak English. Maybe it was a language for those born with the gift of words, for those who could effortlessly string sentences together while I stumbled over syllables, over words that seemed heavier than my heart. But one day, I realized something. Fear is not a wall, it is a shadow. And shadows disappear when you shine light upon them. My fear of English, my hesitation, my shyness was simply the shadow of the part of me that wanted to grow, that wanted to express, that wanted to connect. And just like any shadow, I could step into the light, step forward, and watch it shrink. That realization did not come overnight. It came slowly, in small moments of courage. Moments when I chose to speak, even when my words trembled. Moments when I chose to read aloud, even when my tongue stumbled. Moments when I allowed myself to be imperfect, because I realized perfection is not the goal. Progress is. I remember my first real moment of courage. I was in class, and the teacher asked me to read a paragraph aloud. My hands were shaking, my mouth dry, my heart pounding like a drum inside my chest. I wanted to run, to hide, to pretend I was sick, to do anything but open my mouth. And yet something inside me said, try. Just try. And I did. My voice cracked, I mispronounced words, and yes, some classmates smiled or whispered. But I finished. And in that finish, I found a spark of confidence. I realized that mistakes do not define me, they teach me. And that fear, no matter how strong, can be faced step by step. For many of us, English is more than a language. It is a symbol of opportunity, of growth, of connection to a world we often feel distant from. And yet, it carries so much fear. We worry about what others will think. We fear looking foolish. We fear failing. But let me tell you this. The people who succeed, the people who shine, are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who keep trying, who embrace the discomfort, who step forward despite their fears. English is not a monster. It is a bridge that connects you to knowledge, to opportunities, to people, to dreams that feel just beyond your reach. And to cross that bridge, you do not need to be perfect. You need to be brave. I began my journey by changing the way I thought about English. I stopped seeing it as a test, as a judgment, as something that measured my worth. I began to see it as a tool, as a friend, as a means to express what was already inside me. I spoke to myself, not in criticism, but in encouragement. You are learning. You are improving. Every word you speak is a victory. And slowly, those words sank in. Slowly, the fear loosened its grip. Slowly, the voice inside me that once whispered, "You cannot," began to whisper, "You can." One of the most powerful things I did was to allow myself to speak, no matter how small, no matter how broken. I read simple books. I spoke sentences to my reflection in the mirror. I practiced words out loud. And yes, I stumbled countless times. But each stumble was a step forward. Each mistake was a teacher. I realized that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward in spite of fear. Every time I spoke, every time I tried, I was telling myself, I am stronger than my fear. I am capable. I am worthy. I also learned that we cannot do this alone. Finding someone to speak with, someone who encourages rather than judges, someone who listens patiently is invaluable. I began forming small circles of practice, where mistakes were celebrated as steps of learning. We laughed, we corrected each other, we encouraged each other, and slowly, the fear that once isolated me began to dissolve. English became less a challenge and more a shared adventure, a journey I could take with others, learning, growing, and becoming more confident together. And here is a truth that many of us forget. Speaking English, like any skill, is not about talent. It is about consistency. It is about showing up every day, even when it feels hard, even when it feels embarrassing, even when the fear whispers, "Why bother?" The truth is, every word you speak, every sentence you form, every attempt you make rewires your brain. It strengthens the pathways that connect thought to speech. It strengthens confidence. It strengthens courage. You are training not just your language, but your mind, your heart, your spirit. There were days when I wanted to give up, when I felt I would never be good enough, when the fear seemed insurmountable. And in those days, I reminded myself of why I started. I reminded myself that fear is temporary, that effort compounds, that small steps create massive change over time. I reminded myself that every person who ever succeeded, every person who ever spoke fluently, every person who ever turned fear into strength, started exactly where I was. They started uncertain, hesitant, imperfect. And they became resilient, confident, and powerful by taking one small action after another, day by day. I want you to know something. It is okay to be afraid. Fear is human. Fear is a signal that you care, that you want more, that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone. Do not fight your fear by hiding. Fight your fear by stepping into it. Speak even when your voice trembles. Read even when you stumble. Write even when your sentences are simple. The more you practice, the more you embrace imperfection. The more you speak from courage rather than anxiety, the more English becomes less a fear and more a tool, a bridge to everything you want in life. There is a beautiful lesson in patience here as well. Mastery does not come overnight. Confidence does not come in a single moment. It comes in countless small moments of courage, in tiny victories, in the quiet dedication to keep trying. Celebrate those moments. Celebrate every word spoken, every paragraph read, every sentence written. Because those small victories accumulate into something extraordinary. They transform not just your English, but your confidence, how to resilience, your belief in yourself. And that, my dear friends, is far more powerful than perfect pronunciation or flawless grammar. That is life-changing. I also learned to silence the critical voice in my mind, the one that says, "You are not good enough," the one that says, "Others are better than you," the one that says, "Stop trying." That voice is a liar. That voice is fear masquerading as reason. Replace it with encouragement, with patience, with kindness. Speak to yourself as you would to a friend, gently, supportively, patiently. Every time you choose kindness over criticism, you choose courage over fear. And courage is the fuel that propels you forward, step by step, word by word. And here is something truly magical. As I became braver with English, something else changed inside me. I realized that the fear I had of English was not unique. It was a fear that touches all of us in different ways. It is the fear of not being enough, of not being understood, of being judged. And the lessons I learned through English: courage, patience, perseverance, self-compassion, apply to every area of life. When you learn to face fear in one part of your life, you learn to face fear in every part. You learn that you are stronger than your doubts, that you are capable of growth, that you are worthy of opportunities, connection, and success. I want you to take a moment and reflect. What is the English in your life? What is the fear that holds you back? Is it speaking in public? Is it trying something new? Is it expressing yourself, asking for help, pursuing a dream? Whatever it is, know this fear is not a stop sign. It is a compass pointing you toward growth. And every step you take toward that fear, no matter how small, is a victory. Every attempt you make, every word you speak, every action you take rewires your brain, strengthens your courage, and brings you closer to the person you want to become. So, am I afraid of English? Today, I can say no. I am not afraid, not because I am perfect, not because I never stumble, but because I have learned to embrace the fear, to step into it, to practice courage daily. I am not afraid because I know that mistakes are teachers, that consistency creates mastery, and that the only true failure is not trying at all. I am not afraid because I have discovered that English is not a judge of my worth. It is a tool for my expression, my growth, my connection. And as I continue to speak, to learn, to practice, I find not just fluency but freedom. The freedom to express, to connect, to dream, to live fully. And this, my dear friends, is the most important message I want to share. Fear will always be there. Fear will try to hold you back, but you are stronger. Your desire, your courage, your persistence, your heart are stronger than any fear. Step forward, speak, stumble, learn, grow, celebrate every word, every sentence, every effort, and know that with every step, you are rewiring your brain, building your courage, and shaping the life you deserve. English is not the enemy. Fear is not permanent. Your courage is unstoppable. And you, my friend, are capable of more than you ever imagined. So look at yourself in the mirror. Ask yourself, am I afraid? And when fear rises, smile, take a deep breath, and answer, I am not afraid. I am learning. I am growing. I am powerful. And I will speak, I will express, I will live. That is the power of courage. That is the power of persistence. That is the power within you, waiting to be unleashed. And it begins today with a single word, a single sentence, a single step toward the English that once frightened you and now will set you free.